Well, let's turn to Reform UK leader and, of course, MP for Clacton, Nigel Farage, who joins us now. Good to have you on board, Mr Farage. What is going on then in the fringes of these barbershops, would you say? Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, anywhere you go, really, any market town in the country, you'll find half a dozen barbershops. You know the drill. You go in, no customers, cash only, Lamborghini out the back. And it's been going on for years. And I've been banging on Nick about it forever on social media and talking there to LBC's Henry Riley. And I've just been astonished that the police have done nothing. And we know, of course, they're not Turkish anyway. They're Iraqi or Iranian or Kurdish. In fact, there's probably half a dozen crossing the channel right now that'll be in one of the shops next week. Ram full of illegals, all involved with drugs, mostly drugs. There are other crime elements too, but it's mostly drugs as the use of Class A proliferates across the country. But it's not just barbershops. You've also got Turkish restaurants. Have you seen some of those out there? Oh, they're mega, they are. You go in there, cash only. There's nothing on the menu. I mean, don't worry about that. And then they put their returns in. So this has been going on an industrial scale.
What is the reality? This is all money laundering, would you say, Mr Farage? What is actually going on here?
Well, it's money laundering. It's money laundering. Of course it is. Yes, it's a way of funneling large amounts of cash through, declaring some of it to the taxman. That's what the racket is. And of course, the cash, the drugs trade is all cash. Quite why it's taken the National Crime Agency all these years to act, I don't know.
And what needs to happen now, Mr Farage, what needs to happen now with police, forces up and down the land and local authorities? What do you want to see?
Well, the first thing is stop discriminating against white people. Quite extraordinary to think that all 43 police forces discriminate against white people. And the Home Secretary is refusing to intervene, but I guess for Labour, some forms of racism are acceptable. Number two, stop putting mothers in prison, because in the wake of the murder of 3 young girls, a mother said something intemperate on social media. And let's just hope with the NCA that this is the beginning of a crackdown. The problem comes, though, that when you find that the criminals that have perpetrated this are here in some cases illegally, then you can't deport them because we're stuck in this bind of ECHR and British judges. So let's at least try to stop the racket happening in the high streets.
While I have you on, there are a couple of other issues I'd like to discuss with you. The local elections, and I know I can rely on you not to identify certain authorities because that, as you know, that puts it. But the deputy leader of the Lib Dems, Daisy Cooper, says Kemi Badenoch may have ruled out a pact with Nigel Farage and the locals, but the reality is the Conservatives and Reform have merged in all but name. Nigel Farage.
Oh, poor woman. You almost feel sorry for them, really, don't you? I mean, we are poles apart on pretty much. I just mentioned ECHR a minute ago. We are determined to leave it. The Conservatives, we might think about it at some point in the future. Look, the Conservatives gave us 14 years of high tax, open borders, excessive regulation. They did not deliver. We're a completely different political party. And Daisy Cooper, what you will see when you wake up on May the 2nd is that we will have eaten in to the old Labour vote in a way that's going to astonish everybody.
What are you picking up on the streets of this country about a disaffection for the Conservatives, for Labour, for Lib Dems, Mr Farage?
There's no love for the Labour Party, and what's interesting is the Labour Party, I don't believe anymore represents working people. It's more a sort of Oxford University human rights lawyers. And we're witnessing the deindustrialisation of Britain, Nick. I mean, I just heard Stephen Kinnock on the news talking about an industrial strategy. Well, what about British Steel that's about to close? We'll be the only country in the G20 that's not a producer of primary steel. So what I'm seeing, working people feeling that everything's against them and they're paying their taxes for an increasing number of people who choose, in some cases, to do nothing.
Staying with the government, they deny it, but there does seem evidence that they're watering down their pledges on inquiries into grooming gangs. Again, areas I imagine you will have visited, Mr Farage.
This was disgusting. On the eve of the parliamentary recess, Jess Phillips got up and announced that the 5 grooming gangs inquiries had been cancelled. They only announced the 5 because I said I wanted to do a national inquiry. They tried to head me off. The problem is no inquiry works unless it's got statutory powers. Yes, there are some victims who would like to speak, others who choose not to. But it needs to have statutory powers. There'll be more movement on this over the course of the next week or two. I promise you there are one or two initiatives that I'm involved with.
I've got to press you on
Labour
that.
Party's
What
behaviour
moves might we see, Mr. Farage? What are you hinting
wait
at there?
and see, but there are some initiatives happening where we'll try to use the law to get some resolution. Trevor Phillips, the commentator, said that Labour were appeasing their Asian voters, and he's wrong. They weren't appeasing any Sikh voters or any Hindu voters. They were appeasing that Kashmiri Pakistani community in those inner cities who increasingly are saying they'll vote for Gaza independence. And that's what's really going on here.
Finally, to someone you know well and you campaign for, Donald Trump, does he emerge as chump or champion over his stance on tariffs?
Remains to be seen. I've never agreed with the tariff policy. I do understand, though, that China poses an existential threat to the West economically and perhaps even ultimately in different ways as well. Do you know what? I think Trump did too much too soon, rather like Liz Truss did a couple of years ago. I've never in my life before seen stock markets fall quickly and bond markets fall at the same time. So there's little doubt that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who's also a friend of mine, played a decisive role in saying, whoa, we've got to ease back on this. As for the slugging it out with China, who's going to win right now? I just don't know.
Grateful for your time, Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, MP for Clacton, talking about this crackdown on these barbershops.